Hello and welcome to another episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby Babb. And this is one I am super excited about. It came from a recommendation from our Chief Customer Officer, Nadia Obasdashti, and she has absolutely raved about our guest today. It's Rukayyat from PaceUp Invest. Rukayyat, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
No, likewise. And like I said, I've probably built you up there, so from that. But as I say,
For sure.
there has been nothing other than high praise about you and what you do and everything in between. I know you guys know each other from EWPN, the European Women's Payments Network, where both of you are doing a lot of work with. And she's just been absolutely eulogizing about you and what you've done and the business and everything in between. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this conversation. Let's kick off with a bit of an intro. Tell me a little bit about yourself and tell us about PaceUp Invest and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so my background is actually I'm Nigerian by birth. And I moved to the UK, oh my God, when I was 18 to start my A-levels, and then studied in the UK, and then went into the banking industry, so investment banking. So started out as Goldman Sachs and then went to Bloomberg, Reuters, and BMC Bank before I moved to Germany. And I always like to talk about
It's a good CV right there.
Yeah, it was quite quite humbling. And I guess when I talk about my background, it's always informs my culture as well. So like I said, I'm from Nigeria, and my culture is called the Yoruba culture. And it is a very powerful culture, and it's actually studied in America because of the female power dynamics in it.
Okay.
And apparently during the slavery period as well, most of the slaves that moved from West Africa via Brazil, they kind of took on the culture to build resilience. And why am I talking about this? I would say because when I see a lot of dynamics between the female power and the male power, my culture was very much female, leading like the economics, the political scene, the household and whatnot. And this really informed me and how I was able to get into investment banking as well. So my grandmother, she was actually a trader. She would go to Ghana to buy gold and then come to Nigeria and sell the gold. And she would gather other women every Friday to talk about their week. They would then donate money and give the money to those that needed it most, either to further their trade, send their kids to school, or whatever it was.
Amazing.
And this was where I really saw the dynamics of how money can be used to create value, add value, and just the power of community of women coming together. And this actually piqued my interest into going to investment banking. And I was quick to understand that, wow, there's a big cultural difference in the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in finance, it's very much male and very much white male dominated as well. But I was able to navigate myself around that as well to kind of like not really lose my culture, but also understanding the dominant culture and how I was then able to progress across the ladder, because I left UK as a vice president of investment bank before I moved down to London. So yeah, I would say the culture aspect of it is really important. And I think it also keeps me going and as a resilient person in Germany as well, because you can just imagine Germany is totally different from the UK as well. In the UK, it's super multicultural. There is a lot of diversity and inclusion, but we're getting there gradually in Germany. It's not as, I would say, matured as how it is in the UK or in the US.
And how long have you been over in Germany?
In Germany, it's 6 years now, 6 years plus.
Okay.
So not too long.
Yeah. You're making the difference.
Well, I'm trying my best. I think when you talk about difference, right? And I think going back to actually starting PaceUp was really the fact that when I was in the UK, I helped a lot of my friends to develop a good money mindset, right? And also when it comes to just developing their own investment portfolio. And what actually triggered me back in the UK before I actually decided to found the company was I went to my mortgage advisor, and he was like, "Oh, that's I'm too high risk for him." I said, "Well, what do you mean I'm at high risk for you?" And he said, "Oh, well, I'm the wrong color." And well, this was back in 2013, so people could say whatever they wanted to say then, right?
Wow.
And I thought, oh, okay, what power do I have? I have the power to take my money from that bank and go to another bank.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
choice for me. And that was what I did. I went to another bank and I was able to get a mortgage and then obviously put down towards the down payment of my apartment in London. And this really struck me that perhaps not just as a woman, but also my intersectionality, there would be a lot of people that might not understand how to use money as power and also to invest. And this was why I started helping lots of my friends. But then moving to Germany, it was really, really the pandemic that actually opened a lot of my eyes as well. So I moved to Germany in 2017.
What prompted the move to Germany?
So I got married.
Okay, yeah.
But my husband was in Germany and I was still in London working. But then the baby was coming and it was like, okay, what makes sense? And I was very, very annoyed with the whole Brexit thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I remember going out in the rain. It rained on that day and I went to vote. And still Brexit happened. So I was like, no, I'm just done with the UK. I'm
Yeah.
going to come to Germany. And I made that decision to come to Germany during my maternity leave. I was 1 week to delivery when I came to
Wow.
Germany. So I made sure while I was working, I handed over most of the things to make sure everything was fine
That
before
must have been a nervous flight.
it was, oh, not a flight. Oh God, no, I took the train.
Of course you would have done. Yeah, you'd have
Yeah,
had to. Yeah, yeah.
to Paris from St. Pancras
Yeah, yeah.
to Paris and then to Mannheim because there's a direct train from Mannheim to Paris. So that was how I got here. And I quickly realized that over here is so different. Women are expected to stay at home and look after the kids. And I'm thinking, no, I have to go back to work. I have to do something. I can't
Mhm.
stay at home. My mom did not sit at home with me. And I still had an amazing childhood, right? And I started looking into it and I was really getting like bored, agitated, and I decided to do my executive MBA. So in Mannheim Business School, which is the best in Germany, and also ISEC Business School, which is in Paris, and it's arguably the best in France as well. And together they have a double diploma, so which I decided to do because I speak a bit of French as well. And it was doing this EMBA that we had to like work on a project. And I thought, okay, this might be a very good time for me to actually realize my dream of having a startup, a fintech, basically, based on the
And
fact
that had always been the dream, had it? Or
that's always been to have something on my own entrepreneur because like I told you, my grandmother was an entrepreneur and my mom too was an entrepreneur. So I think it's quite in the blood, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And also the fact that I just thought, okay, there is a lot of people that are not financially literate.
Yeah.
So I presented the idea and then we worked on it for 1 year throughout the program. And then COVID happened in 2020. So I started
Mm.
the program in 2018. My daughter was barely 1. So
Yeah.
crazy me as well, traveling everywhere between Mannheim and Paris to even Shanghai to Singapore and DC as well for all our study trips. And what really prompted it was back in during the pandemic, a very good friend of mine, she had lost a job and she had emotional breakdown because she hadn't financially planned, even though she earned good salary, but then she didn't plan, she didn't save. And she often thought that saving, investing, and money should be dealt with by men.
Mm.
And not only during this period was she subjected to more emotional abuse by her partner, but also financial abuse as well.
Mm.
Thought, oh my God, I kind of understood where she was coming from because back in the UK, I could understand what happened to me as the mortgage advisor.
Mm,
But here, this is actually a woman as well, but she's white, right?
mm,
In this sense. And I thought, okay, this is a very great time to actually start this company. I spoke with her, I talked to her, I helped her. And ultimately, that was why we founded PaceUp Invest in 2020, September, to really help women and underrepresented groups
mm,
to understand financial planning, to be able to visualize financial planning, and to be able to manage their finances as well, and just start to build that wealth gradually on their own terms, and not always have the mindset that wealth building, it's only for the wealthy or for the men.
mm, mm. Isn't it fascinating how that sort of personal experience can sort of form that sort of thing. I love that story. I just like the whole piece there about where where it comes to where you come from, to the sort of upbringing you're bringing in, to say actually that things can change and we can develop this. And look, I think wealth tech has probably been one of the areas that we've seen the biggest need for improvement in the ecosystem, improvement into how we're looking at it. And as finance becomes more global, and we're seeing more and more of even if we go through to the underbanked and everything else in there, financial literacy, particularly over the last couple of years where we've seen such volatility in marketplaces.
Mm, mm.
Even when you're looking at the sort of time bomb we've got in the UK at the moment, with people starting to move over from fixed term rates into other areas.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really interesting piece to see how people manage that and take it further forward. So to do that and to have this sort of idea that can become a reality. Tell us how the journey's been since then. So this is the start of COVID.
Yeah.
And you're sat there with a business, and the world sort of changes very quickly
Oh,
in
yeah.
in a different direction with certainly no sort of foresight as to what's going to happen next, and
Mm,
how and where.
mm.
What happened next for the business?
Oh, dear, it was challenging, right? So we registered the company in September, and then luckily we got some funding from the state, but then we had to get a business angel before the state gives us the funding, right?
Okay.
It's more like a co-investing,
Yeah. And
and
and the funding from the States is
yeah.
is individual seed investors, or is
So
it
that was
it's a corporation
pre-seed, so a
pre-seed?
pre-seed, yeah,
Yeah.
pre-seed from the bank, with a 0% interest.
Yeah.
Not they don't convert at all. They just want their money to be paid back in full
Yeah.
once we can pay that back. So that was how we got that, and then
What made you decide the US? Sorry to do it. I'm just really interested in all this. Why
you,
why did you go to the US for money?
for money, because I couldn't find any in Germany.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
find any. It's totally a different ball game over here
Yeah.
when it comes to getting business angels and even the VCs
Yeah. Mm,
here as well.
mm.
And you have to also understand that to them, I'm foreign,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it's still very much a conservative landscape
Yeah.
where when you
And I
look
guess Germany is
at,
economically conservative anyway, right?
yeah, exactly. And when you
Yeah.
look at the startup landscape as well, it's very much concentrated male.
Yeah.
And when I wanted to start this, it actually took me 1 year to actually create the company. So let me just go some step backs. It took
Hmm.
1 year, and normally it should take 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But because they were not used to a woman, a Black woman, having a very high position in the finance industry,
Yeah. Yeah.
revenue generating industry in Germany, I had to get a lawyer involved to say, she's got all the competencies, she's got everything, she's worked, she's got everything that
Yeah, I mean,
she
we
wants.
started off talking about your CV, right? It's
Yeah.
it's not that there's something there which has got any sort of doubt around that, right?
What I told my lawyer was, how were they not sure that I wasn't the one making cups of tea?
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, so you can see where the challenge came from at the beginning. But in the end, we got the funding. It was actually my friend, my childhood friend, that came in as a business angel,
okay,
the government to then give the funding. And that was how we're able to start to build
Amazing.
the platform in 2021.
What I love about that is there is a growing theme in this conversation about you I get this sense you're the sort of person who finds a way, right?
Yes,
If
we
you're
have
if you're told if you're
to.
told no, you're gonna find a way.
Always, always. And that's why I always say the power of networking is super, super important, and not to be
Absolutely.
afraid to reach out, because I reached out to a lady in Germany saying, this is what I want to do. I would like your bank to be the custodian. And she was like, oh my God, you're so brave. Who are you?
Mhm.
And then we developed a relationship. And it was via her that I was able to get the lawyer to then help me start the company.
I
So if
got you.
I hadn't built that relationship, perhaps there wouldn't have been PaceUp today, because I would have thought, okay, it's not doable. Okay, I couldn't find the lawyer. And luckily, the lawyer, who is equally a very strong German woman, has had work experience outside of Germany. So she studied in Oxford University, she worked abroad. So she understood how to be able to talk to them and let them know, like, look, you can't be siloed within Germany. It's bigger, and this lady has the competencies and everything, and she fought for it. And
Mm,
finally, I was able to get it. So the
wow.
power of just
What a great moment it must have
out
been though
of,
when you get the thumbs up to go.
exactly, it's super, super amazing. And I always say people, and anytime I talk, I always say not to be afraid to ask for something, because what you get is no, and then you move on.
Yeah.
That's exactly, but you never know if you don't ask.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's where so many people, in startup journeys, and I've spoken to people of, for many, many years about this. There's so many people who hit hurdles and then say, oh, well, it's not me, or they start to blame the system, or they start to blame the piece of the dogged determination you've got, I think, is an entrepreneurial trait, right? And I
Mm.
think that's one of the things there where you're going to hit roadblocks and you're going to
Yeah.
hit those sort of things, and particularly when you're doing something trailblazing, which
Mm.
is effectively where you're sat.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
got to be something. So absolute respect for where that is. So you get the thumbs up, and it's go time.
And it's go
And
time.
you've got the funding, you've got your angel, you're ready to go.
Mm.
How's the journey been since then?
It's been good, not without the bumps, right? So
Of
we
course.
started out.
There's no journey that's averse from that, is there, in startup world?
Exactly. Exactly. So we started out with the B2C model, so just business to customer directly. And we were not using like any AI then or whatnot, but now we've incorporated a lot of AI into our model, because what we see is when it comes to finance and when it comes to wealth planning and management, AI makes it kind of a level playing field, because you do not have to go to a financial advisor that would necessarily do not want to talk to you, especially the experience that I had as well,
Mm,
right? So it removes that bias that is inherent in investing, and there is still that bias inherent in investing. So
mm,
what we've done is we've had a look at, okay, our target group, which is for the B2C model, women and underrepresented communities. And these are the people that are often underserved in investments industry and finance industry,
of
right?
course. Yeah.
Because of what it is. And how do we ensure that we provide this product to them, that they have the control over their money, they understand their money, they can visualize, they can plan their goals, they know what kind of questions to ask, so nobody is selling them the products that they do not need. So
Mm,
again,
mm,
it's very much informing, and with the use of the AI as well as humans as well as a co-pilot, it's really helping our customers to be able to really say, right, now I'm more at ease. This jargon is all gone, because finance is super filled with jargons, right?
certainly is.
Exactly. So reduce the jargon, help them with our products that we've built in-house that we believe is breakthrough as well, technology on it as well. And we've seen like very, very good uptake on that. However, on the flip side of it is, when it comes to the next fundraising phase, that has been super, super challenging, we haven't been able to go on to raise since we've raised seed.
Is that right?
Yes, we haven't been able to do that.
Okay.
We've been bootstrapping,
Yeah.
right, since 2020. And we're still trying to fundraise, even though we have this amazing, amazing product that our customers really like.
Yeah.
And what we've then looked at is the fact that we see now that when it comes to companies, right, the biggest impact on companies when they have a high turnover, when they have absenteeism, most of the time is the financial stress. The data out there by PricewaterhouseCoopers that says 63% of employees are constantly financially stressed, and 74% of these people want their employers to help them to reduce their financial stress by providing products and services, for example, that we have at PaceUp Invest, which is very holistic in helping them, first of all, to manage their debt, budget, understand how to save, understand how to invest, and pension planning, right? And if you look at it, at the end of the day, employees are working so hard for their money. It's also important for them to be able to understand how to grow that money, right? And the best way is via the employers really helping them to do this, because again, it reduces that impact of them having access to different platforms that really makes it so scattered everywhere and they lose interest. They don't know where to go and what to do. But when they see their employers are actually taking an active interest in not just only providing them with gym membership and yoga mats, but also financial well-being to complete the whole circle, then the productivity increases, right? There's reduced absenteeism, right? There's reduced turnover. They don't have to spend more money looking to get more people in. They can retain the talent because of the fact that they are providing this service to them to reduce their stress.
Yeah.
This is what I mean, when you look at it in the States, it's very much like going up there when it comes to employers really helping the employees. But Europe is still at the early stages. I mean, UK is a bit more advanced than the rest parts of the Europe, but we've seen that a lot of it now, they're looking into it as part of sustainability, right? To say, okay, we're not just thinking of environmental, you have to look at the S. And who are the S? The people, the stakeholders, the customers, right? The suppliers, right? The employees. How do we then ensure that our employees are actually looked after within this landscape, within this structure as well?
Yeah. It's fascinating when you put it like that as well. So you've created this bit sort of B2B arm alongside the B2C. The B2C piece, I presume, still carries on as well.
Yes, it still carries on. Yeah.
And the B2B bit is, and you know, I've spoken about this with people so many different times about you know how we can help, you know, running this business. We talk about it and saying, right, you know, what can we do? We've got some individuals in the team who are happy to talk to someone. So, you know, just a conversation this morning was about you know a junior member of the team who's in a circumstance that's very difficult. And she's reached out to someone of the senior people in the team who's helped to give them a sort of pathway for it. But I think that sort of concept there of having something in a business where you've got people going through all different phases of their life and all sorts of changes in terms of this, particularly with the cost of living that we've seen over over recent years. This is a really, really critical time for someone like you to come into that. So since the B2B piece has come in, has that made you more attractive again to the investors, or is it still bootstrapped, or is there now talks that become more?
It is still bootstrapped, and what we've done really is not to like focus too much on the fundraising aspect. We're trying to like focus more on just getting the B2B out there to as many companies as possible, to as many entrepreneurs as possible as well.
And people, I imagine people want to hear that story as well, right?
Exactly. People want to hear the story because it's super, super holistic, right? They can kind of do everything on the platform. They also be able to interact with one another, because most oftentimes people find it difficult to talk about money, right? They can
definitely
use the platform on there to interact as well. Like, okay, let's talk about this, about that, investing, this and that. And also they can send documents to one another as well. So it's very much interactive within the employees realm of things, and really starting to build that confidence as well. And it's their own personalized platform. So the employer doesn't see it. What they do is just pay on behalf of the employee to be able to have this, to have everything, the end-to-end solution for their finances, and to be happy, right? Because ultimately, it also gives them a hassle-free family life as well. Because when they get back home, they're happier as well, they're less stressed, they can pass on this mindset. Those that have kids, they pass it on to their kids, the mindset of, oh, this is how I'm planning the finances, this is how it's visualized, and this is what we're doing. So in very much sense, this is what we're trying to do to impact as many people as possible on a scalable level, because we believe that the B2B aspect will help it to even be bigger. Because like you mentioned, financial literacy is super, super low globally. It's 33%, right?
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Men, 35%, women, 30%, on average, 33%.
Yeah, wow.
Extremely low. For example, in the UK, right? Because we do have some clients in the UK, only 6% of the UK population invest in stock and shares ISA.
Yeah.
And this is like tax-free thing.
Yeah.
Without the knowledge and the understanding, and if they don't know where to go, and if they're spending most of their working time with the employer, isn't it right for the employer to then help them to be able to then understand these finances, right? To then reduce their stress. Most employers will say, oh, but if we help them we are providing them these services and they get more money and then they leave. No, they won't leave. Even if they leave, you are an employer of choice. But people will not want to leave a place where they are being so super, super looked after.
It's funny that, isn't it? That's because I can absolutely, yes, sort of understand how that can be a common sort of objection that would be raised, is saying, yeah, look, if I make people all this money and then they don't need it, are they going to work? Are they going to sit back? Are they going to be more comfortable, etc., etc.? But it's such a sort of jaundiced view of how to deal with things, isn't it? Because there's the well turned out phrase now of the CEO talking to their HR team and saying, "What if I train these people and they leave?" And it says, "What if you don't train these people and they stay?"
And they stay,
And
exactly.
I think it's the same sort of concept here, isn't it? That if you give people this sort of advice and they become more successful from it, and they become more, I think it's the exact counter, counter of what they're talking about there that they get, and they get, we know that global retention rates are diabolical. And particularly in technology, where where I do most of my work, that's where we see this incredible churn of it all. And I think it's because people don't necessarily look at the holistic picture of where people are sat in their business. And it comes down to pounds and pence or anything like that, rather than the whole individual.
Well,
and Nadia, who we spoke about earlier on, is always talking about the whole individual and how we can improve that sort of situation. So yeah, I think this is an amazing sort of journey that you're on with it. And talk to me about you specifically. That you've this is your baby. You've sort of one of your other your work baby. Should we say? It's something you've incubated. It's something you've bootstrapped. As you say, you've been through the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, and the ugly around everything you've been going. As as someone who's worked for some of the largest financial institutions in the world, how have you found the transition? I'm going to bet here, and look at the way you've spoken about it so far, and just say that this is where you've unlocked your passion. It looks like someone who's thoroughly engaged in the good, the bad, and the ugly of the whole story, right?
Yes, and you're so right, because I often sit back, I think, wouldn't it be just better to just go back to these cushion jobs, right? And just my salary and just continue to have amazing life that was having. I'm having an amazing life, but obviously as an entrepreneur, you have the ups and downs and whatnot. But like you said, it's very much the passion. I always say that it's the soul as well, right?
Yeah.
What is feeding the soul?
Yeah.
and what makes me happy every day. Because when I look at, I think it's the same from Rockefeller, right? It's one of the, like I guess the happiest and the wealthiest of his time.
Yeah.
There's this poem that he wrote. I have to look for it. I don't have it right in my head, but he said that he's a very happy man because every day is happy. And when he's happy, he's able to then work on his big goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people often think that they will be happy when they achieve their goals,
Yeah.
right? But it's the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
way. You have to be happy in what you're doing in order to be able to then achieve these big goals.
Well, there's a whole thought concept around this, isn't there?
Around it, yes.
And I think the way it sort of plays out on social media is about manifestation and going through
Yeah.
that and sort of going through that. I think the issue that it comes out through social media is that manifestation is all you need to do rather than put the work in
And then put the word
behind it.
exactly.
But I think that concept, and it comes back to stress in the workplace and people going through that sort of stuff, and take it to not just the financial aspect of all, but the stress of just sort of overthinking about where you want to be and chasing some dream. The ability to sort of enjoy the present and to come into things and sort of so one of my old CEOs many years ago played golf with a FTSE CEO who and he asked why this guy was pushing into his late 70s and was still a very prominent figure in the UK retail sector. I won't name him, but he asked the question about why he was still doing it, and this plays up in my head the whole time, and of someone there who would quite easily have been retired 15, 20 years, but beforehand, possibly more. And he turned to him and he goes, Daly, he was my boss. He goes, Daly, I love the aggro, and I think the idea of just being involved in loving the good, the bad, and the ugly of the process is incredibly important. But when you're doing that alongside you, where you're clearly enjoying the things, where you're clearly someone there who wants to find solutions to problems, and a dog with a bone, so to speak, with where you want to get to, but to be doing something which I think is so purposeful, as a business and as an organization, and taking something on there that helps individuals, that helps companies, that helps solve a major global issue. That's exciting, and I really hope that other people see that sort of potential in you, and the sort of investment that sort of that you've been looking for comes through, because to me it becomes one of those things which becomes an absolute no-brainer, and it's hugely exciting about what you can do and where you can take it and what it can become. So exciting times.
Exactly.
Well, I said I'd be very good at sort of keeping this to time, and I've failed already, and there's still loads I want to speak to you about. So
no, it's fine. I'm
where I want to go with it, in between is just looking at what's next. So you've talked about where you've gone, you've talked about what you're doing, you've talked about the pivoting and changing of the business, about where you're at and your sort of part in that sort of journey. But let's stargaze a little bit and look to the future. Let's look to the future of both wealth tech in general and where that heads and what the opportunity is. But let's also look to the future of PaceUp Invest and dream a little about what it can look like and where it can go.
Yeah, I think when it comes to wealth tech, I think the opportunity is just massive, especially when it comes to those that are currently being underserved, right? So when it comes to people that just believe that, okay, I need to have this lots of money before I can start to invest. But then when we look at, okay, how can we reach these people with technology? Because I think technology is just so powerful. And also it also becomes like I said, like a level playing field if the people have access to it. And it's also important to help when it comes to digitalization so that people can have access to the technology that then helps them to kind of build the wealth they want to build in their own on their own terms, do things that they want to do on their own terms. And I think there's still a lot to be done when it comes to wealth tech, especially when it comes to also with the AI aspect of it, and also when it just democratizing financial advisory, right?
Absolutely.
But then it will then make I believe it will then enforce the financial advisors to be more fiduciary focused, right? When we talk about fiduciary, meaning the best interest of the customer, not pushing products. And I think the World Tech would be a good place for people to, because if I, for example, now in the UK, there's a lot of independent financial advisors. We don't really have that in Germany. It's not a requirement in Germany, right? So you get,
right?
Yeah, so you get people just selling you products every now and then, and mainly insurance products. And most of the time, you don't even need the insurance. I had the client that she has 3 different life insurances, and she also has a life insurance at work. I said, why do you have 3 different life insurances? All this premium that you're paying, you can be investing it to build your asset. So having this foresight of actually enabling people to have more understanding, because when you talk about wealth, is a holisticness of wealth, right? It's not just saying, okay, this is my asset, this is that. It's also the financial well-being, right? The holistic of everything to say, okay, this is how it is, this is my planning, this is how I'm going to build my wealth. And this is how I see it going forward, in the sense that a lot of companies, banks, financial institutions, even insurance companies as well, we start to really think of their customers and also of their employees in a holistic way. And I think the World Tech is just the tip of the iceberg at the moment for people to actually be more financially independent. There'll be more financial inclusion for people that have been excluded when it comes to finances, and also cultural wise. I'll talk about the cultural one, basically, quickly, and how I believe that wealth tech will help. There are different cultures whereby even though the woman earns the money, she has to give the money to the husband. That is a culture. So I've coached quite different cultures as well. And what I often tend to see as well is there's a difference between the Caucasian culture and also the African culture when the Africans moved to the West. When they were back at home, the woman is working, she's put on a pedestal, they share most of the things, or even the husband takes care of everything, and the woman still has her own thing. When they come to the West, and perhaps the power dynamic changes, is no longer equal, right?
Yeah.
Now the man is earning more, and perhaps the woman has to stay at home and look after the kids.
Yeah.
Man then looks after the money, right? And the woman cannot work because perhaps she's in a country where she doesn't understand the language, or her skill set is not what is high in demand, like medicine, or all this skill set that you can just go to a country and work without learning the language, right? Like a doctor. And what happens there is there becomes this power imbalance, and then the financial infidelity comes in place. What do you mean by financial infidelity? The husband is buying assets, he's investing, but not including the wife. In that. On the other hand, when I coach the Caucasian clients, it's really the man that says, look, please help my wife that is not working. So these are 2 different people that are not working. So the ones that are working is totally different. I need her to be able to understand and have something, because I know the pension gap is different between men and women. I'm trying to push her to understand investing and this. So I need both of us to be coached on how I can help her better. So when the World Platform, World Tech, I see it as these 2 different people can then go onto the platform if they feel ashamed or anxious of talking to a financial advisor or someone that will judge them further.
There is that, isn't there? There's definitely that sort of judgment element that people are concerned about.
Exactly. They have access to the technology that they can go on, start to learn, start to invest, create their own personalized portfolio, not a portfolio that someone is telling you, oh, you're aggressive, you're conservative, you're this. No, super personalized to you that you can do it by yourself. And this is what we have developed on our platform. So we see that going forward as something that perhaps a lot of people would take on board as well. They say, look, if I'm anxious talking to someone, I can just go on here and even understand the stages of where I'm at. I can easily learn more, interact with other people, and start to build my own financial independence. So I'm not stressed and I'm not financially abused by my partner.
Yeah. Knowledge is power, right?
Knowledge is power. And I think world tech platforms have, I would say they have the responsibility not just to say that wealth is only for the rich, but anyone can start to build it gradually. So this is why I see the future, and not to really talk about digital assets and whatnot that would just make everybody go crazy. But when it comes to really the human aspects of making an impact, and also just making sure that people feel seen and they have control of their money and their finances.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about PaceUp. So what's like a long-term vision is to impact millions and millions of people. And I always think about it every day, like how can I, just this ripple, how does this impact it? And how we're looking at that is really by just having it across different geographies. So even though
And
we're
you're predominantly German based at the moment, I presume.
we have clients everywhere when it comes to all other aspects of knowledge. Every other place, we provide the financial coaching. They can use the platform to learn. The B2B, it's anyone globally can use the B2B platform because you don't execute on it. It's all about just planning, visualizing, managing, but not execution. So our plan is to expand globally to really touch points in America, in the UK, get a lot of B2B clients because I'm British, right? It would be quite nice
Exactly.
to have some British companies on our radar. So we're currently talking to a Dutch company. We're currently talking to a company in Belgium as well, some in Nigeria. So they really see the need for this, for them to give to their employees and to their customers as well. So
And
this is
who do
our
you
long-term
look at?
plan.
Do you look at SME businesses? Is it scale up businesses? Is it large businesses? What enterprise clients? What's the sort of sweet spot for you? Any probably I'm imagining all of them.
Yeah, so we have the three different parts. We have the what we call the entrepreneurs. So from 1 to 10 team, and then we have from 10 to 50. We call them teams or organization. And then we have enterprise, whereby they then tell us, okay, this is the number of people that we want. And then we then provide the services accordingly. So we've kind of done it such a way that if you're an entrepreneur, you can have access to it. If you're in a team or organization of up to 50, you can do that as well. If you're a big enterprise, there is more customizable to the big enterprise level as well. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, I know there's going to be people who want to sort of reach out and find out a little bit more. What's the best way for them to do that and get in touch with you?
So they can go onto our website, basically, but to get in touch with me directly, it's just Rukayyat at paceupinvest.com. It's Rukayyat. So directly, or they can use the contacts as well. Someone from the team will pick up the message and just talk to them. But if it's someone within an organization that they just want to talk to me straight away, they can just email me at Rukayyat at paceupinvest.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. So
we'll tag you in on this and make sure everyone knows where to find you for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And really, really passionate as well about panel speaking. I do lots of keynote speeches as well to really bring out the topic, not just wealth building, but also diversity, inclusion, and tech, especially entrepreneurship. And I also lecture at universities as well when it comes to entrepreneurship and innovation. And we always use PaceUp Invest as a case study just to show that, look, it can be done and this is how it's done, and just to help the students, because we have to develop the talents as well. The students to see that, okay, this is how it's worked out and what they can do if they want to innovate, and just various ways of innovation as well.
What a great time to be, teaching that sort of stuff as well. I think it's so important, isn't it?
It's very rewarding, definitely.
So I thought I was going to enjoy this, and I think I've enjoyed it even more than that than I thought I would. And as I said, look, time has absolutely flown past in this, and it's been that's always to me the great marker of a great episode of FinTech Focus TV when it's when you've massively overrun and it feels like you've been talking for 5 minutes.
Exactly.
So I'm sure we're going to be having you on future episodes of this, and I'm so pleased that Nadia made that introduction. I think she knew that we'd you'd be someone there who I'd love talking to, and she's absolutely nailed it. This is a business which I'd love to see flourish. I'm sure it will, with everything that we're talking about and your mindset. I found it massively inspiring. I'm going to come off this phone call with a big smile on my face and a drive to have a great afternoon. So it has been an utter pleasure having you on the show, Rukayyat. Thanks
Thank you.
for coming on and sharing your story,
Yeah.
and really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And amazing props to Nadia. She's super amazing as well.
I will pass it on to her. Hopefully she's watching the show.
Yeah.
And thank you to everyone who's watched. We hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And we will see you soon on the next episode of FinTech Focus TV. Thanks a lot.